One. Welcome to Down to Dunk. I'm your host, Andrew Schlecht. We're part of the Athletic Podcast Network. With me, hardly ever on a Tuesday night, is my good friend Alex Speers. Alex, what's up?
What's up, Andrew?
We have a good friend of ours who has so much knowledge about the Charlotte Hornets. It's our good friend, Richie Randall. Richie, what's up, dude?
Not much. How's it going, guys?
It's going great. Richie, we brought you on because the Thunder acquired Gordon Hayward at the deadline, and we just want to know what's this guy like? What's he been doing in Charlotte like the last year or so? Because I think when we think of Gordon Hayward, like when my friends who are basketball fans come up to me to talk about Gordon Hayward, the first thing they want to talk about is Butler, and then they want to talk about what he was in Utah and like all the all-star version of him. So I think it'd be good to just get some context as to what he was like the past few years in Charlotte.
Yeah, it's funny. I saw a highlight clip the other day with him in Utah, and they were like, "Yeah, this is what we're gonna get in OKC." It's like, no, not getting that, not getting that, Hayward. But he is a guy that's been very consistent over the 4 seasons with Charlotte and what he's provided on the court. Like if you look at the scouting report for the past 4 years with him, like it's pretty set in stone. Like what you're getting from him. And he's lost that athletic ability over the years because of that wear and tear. But what you're going to get at this guy is someone that's going to rely on his strength, his craft to get him to where he needs to go. He's not very speedy, but he's gotten very good at decelerating near the hoop. And I think throughout the time in Charlotte, he's gotten better around the rim, and I think that's a very good place to kind of start. But I think the most obvious place that most people think about with Gordon Hayward is the ability to score out of the mid-range. And, maybe outside of this season, especially like in the long mid-range area, he's been very solid there. Obviously with the OKC Thunder, like you're not going to run a ton of offense through him, but if it's late in the clock or if you need a bucket late, he can provide that. I think with OKC's system, like you can use them as a spacer to kind of keep those driving lanes open for SGA and those other players as well. And I guess the underrated part about Gordon Hayward, and, I don't know how often OKC uses pick and rolls. I guess SGA uses a lot of pick and rolls, but like using him as a screener is a good way to use him because he is a guy that sets pretty hard screens. And I think for SGA, like, you're just going to be pick your poison. Like if a team switches, you got Hayward on a mismatch in the middle of the court. If not, you got teams trying to fight over the top for being in bad positioning, and SGA is going to score in the paint. So I think from an offensive perspective, there's a lot to like about Gordon Hayward. And at the very least, you're going to get a guy that's very unselfish with his playmaking. And I think that's something that gets overlooked at times. But you guys all know this. It all comes down to him actually being available.
That's really interesting what you said about the screening because, OKC is known for loving these small screens. Well, they'll have like Shea and J-Dub. And not that Gordon Hayward is a small necessarily, but the fact that he can be a screener makes me feel like they're definitely going to use him that way because they like doing that so much. Could you tell us a little bit about his defense? Because you mentioned how the athleticism has gone a little bit. How good is he as a team defender, as a one-on-one defender? Like, do you feel confident in him, or do you think he's someone who could be targeted? Like, how has his defense been?
I think what's so hard to judge, especially if you're a Hornets fan or a guy that covers the Hornets, because they haven't had a good like individual defenders, it's really hard to have a judgment because it's all relative. Like when you look back on the past several seasons with the Hornets, like Cody Martin sticks out, Dennis Smith Jr. sticks out, and maybe outside of this season, PJ Washington has been pretty good on defense. But I would say that like the next person like on your mind when you think of the Hornets is Hayward. But again, it's all relative to the other players that they've had on their roster. I think like his offense, like he just knows where to be. So I think as a team defender, Alex, like that's probably where he shows up a little bit more. And he wants to be out there. He wants to compete. He'll chase. He'll fight over screens. He's just limited because he's 33 years old. There's a lot of wear and tear on his body. And I think where you're going to get the most impact is through maybe his strength. And so if he can play physical without fouling, which he's done a good job of over the years in Charlotte, he can at least be a passable defender. And so I know I would not think that they would target Gordon Hayward, but there probably are some times or there's some players that he just can't guard because of the lack of speed. But I think ultimately, like it comes back to the offensive end for Gordon.
That's music to my ears because like that's all he has to be is passable. Because he's gonna be on because it's gonna be like Dort and Dub and Shea are all good perimeter defenders. And then you have Chet. And then if he is in your closing lineup, then it's like he's mostly going to be guarding like standstill guys for the most part. Like, he's not going to be in a position to guard like a wing who's going to attack off the bounce. And like you said, if he is, I mean, he'll probably get past him, but he's not going to be he's not going to be terrible. So like that to me is kind of what I thought too. But you also don't want to like overrate guys before they even play a game for you. You know, think like, oh, he's not that bad on defense, and he's going to do this, and he's going to do that. So it's good to hear that, like, that's kind of what he's been. And you're right, like, the context for this is so team dependent when it comes to defense, because like one guy here could look pretty good because he's not having to do all that much, but you put him on an island on another team or on a team that doesn't have like a good defensive concept. Not that Charlotte doesn't, but like a team that's like the Pistons. You know, you throw a guy on the Pistons, they may look terrible, but you put him in a different context, it may be okay. So I'm very interested to see what he looks like just physically on that end overall. What this last injury that Hayward had, like, how much do you know about that?
To be honest with you, I don't know. I mean, he basically misses 30 games every year, and I don't know how serious it is. And it seems as if I was talking to Alex about this the other day. It seems as if the Hornets kind of like milk their injuries a lot. There's like no rush to get players back because of the position that they are in. Like LaMelo Ball, like you see these pregame workout videos of LaMelo Ball, and it seems like he's healthy. It seems like he can give it a go. And same thing with Hayward. Like it just seems like it takes a long time. It lingers. And I don't know if it's because he's 33 years old or if the Hornets training staff is not that great. There's already been talk here in Charlotte that the new owners are trying to replace the training staff because of all the injuries and how it's been handled over the years. So it is very hard to get a good judge on the actual injury itself versus like misdiagnosing versus like, okay, maybe the Hornets just aren't in a position to play Hayward because they don't need to. Or if Hayward himself just wants to take it a little bit easy because he knows that there's no rush to get back. So I don't have a good insight onto how like severe like these injuries are.
Thinking about usage, when Charlotte was completely healthy over these last couple of years, where would you have slotted in Gordon Hayward? Like night to night, would you have expected him to, get third most shots on the team? Or were there nights where he could have taken over and been like the main guy on the Hornets?
I mean, theoretically, yes. I think naturally he did defer a lot. I think, obviously Ball is going to be your highest usage guy. Miles Bridges is definitely up there. On a night-to-night basis, he probably should be third, but there were nights where it's almost like you wouldn't even realize he was out there. He just wanted to use his playmaking. He wanted to use that unselfish nature to, just pass it off to his teammates. Could he take over? I mean, there might be a couple games here and there where he can put up 25 points and you're like, wow, this is the Hayward of old. But I think for the most part, he's just such an unselfish player, which helps as a connector, helps as a guy that's not going to over dribble and make the right play. But, from a night-to-night basis, I would not expect him to be a guy that's putting up a ton of shots at this point in his career, even though he has the ability to score. Like I feel like he is a scorer / playmaker. So, on the OKC's offense, I mean, he's just going to be another guy to me. Like just space, be a guy that can operate out of the middle of the court. And like I said, he is unselfish. So I don't know how frequent like OKC uses like the bigs out of the dunker spot, but that's where he got a lot of his assists because naturally he's just in the paint a lot and trying to get towards the rim in the mid range. And he draws in players and just hits that little dump off pass to the guy in the dunker spot. So he's a high IQ player and it's almost like he doesn't want to mess things up at times.
With his injuries, I don't remember like over these, you said he missed around 30 games, like most of these last couple of years. Were those like injuries spread across the season, or was it more like he would have a pretty significant injury, be out for a really long time?
That's exactly that. I mean, it would be
Okay.
one injury. I mean, here and there, like little ones, but it'd be one injury that would last for like 20 games.
Okay.
So what you're telling us is that he's got that out of the way.
Yeah, that's great.
I
He's
don't
just
know.
getting it out of the way for us.
Yeah, when's the end? When's the end in sight? That's what I don't know.
Apparently, the things that I've heard about him is that he's like knocking on the doorstep of being ready to come back.
Yeah.
Like that should play after the All-Star break, from what I understand.
My question is, would he have done that if he was on the Hornets? Like in the sense that, like, there's a reason to play in OKC.
Yeah, it's a great
Yeah.
question, because I that's something that I had kind of thought about too, because we've seen some bad teams here, and
Right.
when a guy like had an ailment, it was like, you know what, you should just probably sit down. It's okay, don't worry about it. Like, get healthy. And like here now, like there are games where guys maybe not that they should sit out, but like they're not feeling 100% all the time, and a lot of guys on good teams aren't feeling 100%, but they're going anyways because they have something to play for. And I wonder what that looks like for Hayward, because it's been a few years since he's had something to really play for. And so I'm interested to see kind of what that looks like with him once he does get back on the court.
Yeah.
Richie, before we let you go, I'm sure Thunder fans would love to hear your early impressions of Tre Mann, especially. Obviously we love Micic, but we only got to see him for a couple months. But Tre, I mean, we have followed this guy now for this is the third year, right? Yeah. And a player that a lot of Thunder fans thought would blow up if he went somewhere else, thought that he would do really well if he got the opportunity. Through 2 games, it's looking pretty. Is it been 2 games or 3 games?
2 games, yeah.
2 games. It's been looking pretty good so far. So what have been your initial impressions of Tre Mann?
I'm actually surprised he got the starting nod. Obviously, LaMelo's out, but I thought Micic got the starting nod. But maybe they just like that veteran to come off the bench. And he's been the guy that's been getting the most minutes out of the 3 guys that have come over to the Thunder. And I think with Micic, it's a guy that you kind of know what you're going to get on a night-to-night basis, whereas Mann has more of that variance. Like there's more highs and lows in his game, but he's been exciting. Like he almost had a triple-double against the Pacers the other night. And I think the handle obviously is the most obvious place to highlight. Like we see so many plays where he's doing that crossover, little snatchback dribble where he's creating so much space against his opponents. And like you mentioned earlier, Alex, on Buzz Beat, like he's got to hit his shots, and he hasn't been doing that from behind the arc so far, but he's been good in the floater range. He's been good with the mid-range shot. It's really hard to put my finger on his playmaking so far. It's only been 2 games, but he's racked up the assist. But it's not the assist in the way that like he's setting his teammates open. Like if that makes any sense, like not all assists are created equal. And I think there is some variety in his game, but if that makes any sense, I think Micic, on the other hand, he's a guy that like sees the opening. He can almost pass a teammate open. So overall, I'm enjoying the small sample size of these guys. And it's very much a new energy in Charlotte, and the honeymoon phase is on an all-time high here with the Hornets.
Do the Charlotte fans know that Davis Bertans only has 9 fingers?
Oh, I didn't even know that.
There you go. Fun fact of the night.
I thought that should come from Alex with his all trivia and stuff like that.
I know.
In fact, as you were saying it, I thought you were about to say 11. I can't even remember how many fingers he does have. I thought it was an extra finger, but it's 9 fingers.
Yeah, he had one cut off in an accident.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Isn't there a basketball player with 11 fingers though?
11? Okay, go ahead and look it up. Those guys really, what they needed was like possessions, and they just didn't have that to offer in Oklahoma City. And so it's going to be fun to see those guys kind of spread their wings a little bit, and that's what Tre Mann needs overall, is like NBA minutes, because he played with the G League some, and it's hard to develop in the G League. Like it just is. It's hard to be an NBA player in the G League, and so I think you're going to really like those guys. I think at least one of them is like really going to work out. And it's it wouldn't surprise me if it was like Micic at the end of the day, because the dude can really pass, and he can shoot. And if you're if the context is like we're not fighting for playoff positioning, it's just like, hey, let's just go put up some points and like try to win a few games. Like I think he's going to be great for them, and maybe they could even recoup some value if like they don't want him long term, like to move him on this summer or something. I think that's also a possibility. So anything else about Hayward that we should know? 10 fingers, 10 toes. You know, anything else?
No, just the injuries. I think we got it covered.
Hey, go listen to the Buzzbeat pod, and you can hear about some former Thunder guys on that show. It's a really fun show. So go listen to the Buzzbeat podcast. Richie, thanks so much for coming on.
All right, thank you guys. Take care.
All right, Al. The Thunder dismantled the Magic on national television in a game where Shaquille O'Neal, who's having his jersey retired right now, shout out to Larry Miller, who is sending me the Shaq retirement jersey shirt where he's like, it looks like old school Magic, you know.
Yeah, it was very cool.
Like the caricature. It's a very cool shirt. I actually have one that is like kid sized, like still have it, and it looks a lot like that one. And when
Really?
sent that to me, I was like, yes, I need that in man sized, please. But the Thunder just absolutely destroyed the Orlando Magic tonight in Orlando on national television. Shaquille O'Neal, the man himself, said that he believes the Thunder can win the West this year. They beat them.
Yeah, I wish you wouldn't say that.
I know. You kind of want him to be like, yeah, I don't know that they're ready yet. They're probably just too young. No, he said that he thinks that they can. Shea, who started slow, he had 6 points in the first half, ended up with 32 points. I'm just like, somehow he like turned it into a normal night. 11 of 24. It's like, okay, like 32 points on 24 shots. He was on fire in the second half. He was so good. And then J-Dub had 33 points on 18 shots tonight. 33, 2 and 3 with a steal. I mean, those two, like that combination was just deadly. And Dub, particularly to start the fourth quarter, was just completely on fire and dismantled the Magic at every single turn and essentially ended the game himself, you know, without Shea out there. It was quite a performance, and like good to see them perform that well in the early game on national television.
Yeah, I mean, the Kings win was a great win, but yeah, being on the road against a really good defense. I was looking it up right before we came on. Clean the Glass has them as the 4th ranked defense, and doing it on national TV on a night when like there's something special going on for the team. You know, the fans were fired up. I've never heard such like loud fans for cutting a lead from like 11 to 9. I feel like that happened a lot in this game. There was the one Jalen Suggs when he like made a shot, cut it to 9. He was just going crazy. You would have thought that they just like he just brought the roof down going up by like 9. So yeah, they seem fired up, but this team, like, man, they really show that they are the better team and like the more mature team. Like they really never let Orlando make a run that scared you. Like they really were in control of that game, despite, as you mentioned, Shea not being very good in that first half. Like even with that, they were once they got that lead, I think it was like 31-30 or whatever. From that point on, it felt like they had just figured something out. And the rest of the game, you know, once they got that little cushion, they just never really gave it up. And you never felt that worried about it. And in the first half, a lot of it was like they were making their threes, which the threes did not continue necessarily in the second half. I mean, they ended up 13 of 32, so they shot 41%. But in the first half, they were like near 50% from three. And we got those 2 J-Will threes, which were huge in the moment. Just getting that kind of production off the bench. In fact, the bench as a whole was really good in that first half. And then Giddey had a really nice game, especially in the first half specifically. And then J-Dub was great in that second quarter, in addition to being really good in the fourth quarter. So it just felt like one of those all around wins, Andrew, against a really good team on the road, and it was on national TV. That's great.
And this game came down to shot making and like finding the right shots. And I thought they were really good at it tonight. And it's not even necessarily like threes are falling or not. Like they made 13 threes to the Magic's 11. So it's not even necessarily threes, but it's like a backdoor cut that Isaiah Joe makes and Kenrich just finds him just wide open. It's Dort passing up an open three for himself to get Joe a wide open three. It's Shea just absolutely cooking in the mid-range, getting to his spots and rising up. It's the same thing with Dub.
Yeah.
Getting to his spots. It's getting to the hoop. Because you look at like all of like the markers for the game, you look at the rebounding, like they lost the rebounding 48-31. They got killed on the boards by a much bigger Magic team, which you would assume. Assists 28-29 in favor of the Magic. Steals 9-6. It's not like that crazy. Turnovers. The Magic did have 4 more turnovers, but the Thunder only had 11 points off of turnovers. So this isn't like really the Thunder won because they turned them over. They did, but they didn't capitalize it. The Magic had 16 points off of the Thunder's 12 turnovers. Fast break points 15-9. Like they didn't kill them in fast break points. Points in the paint 46 for the Thunder, 50 for the Magic. This really just came down to the Thunder have guys that can make shots and that can get to their spots, and the Orlando Magic really don't. Outside of Paolo Banchero, and if Franz Wagner wasn't that great tonight, who is it? I mean, is Wendell Carter kind of rolling to the hoop? It was Jalen Suggs kind of getting hot early, but cooling off. And he took 12 threes. He took 12 threes tonight. So to me, it's really just about the Thunder just have some like high level shot makers in Shea and Dub. And this is like pure star power. And we saw this happen a lot in the first iteration of the Thunder. It's like the Thunder are just going to win games because they have the better players and they have the better shot makers. And there's nothing you can do about it. I mean, you look at what Orlando did. Beat them in rebounding, beat them in points in the paint, beat them in fast break points, like all of these markers here. Or points off turnovers, not fast break points, points off turnovers. They win all those categories, and yet they lose the game by 14. It's a pretty astonishing, and it really is all because you can't stop Shea and you can't stop J-Dub. And like that to me was kind of the story of the game.
Were you surprised by that stat they showed at the end of the game that was the first time that J-Dub has had back-to-back 30-point games? It just seems like something he would have done by now.
I wasn't totally surprised because he does, especially with scoring, it's not like super steady like Shea. Like Shea, It's like a million in a row. But like Dub will have some duds every once in a while. He did 3 games ago, was a single digit scoring, and so it didn't surprise me too much, but that's the first of many times that he's going to do this. He's just so good. I mean, his improvement is just like astonishing. And I think people are starting to get a little like wide-eyed watching him like, whoa, what can he be? What is he going to be? Because the efficiency tonight, 12 of 18.
Well, and the big thing for me is, we've had these different phases of the season with Dub. Like starting off of the season, he was good, but we were kind of questioning like he's still not to where he was the second half of last year. Like he could get even better than this and still be as good as he was last year. And then you had the stretch where it's like Mark started inserting him at the start of the second quarter, start of the fourth quarter, and we started to see him really break out. I feel like we're now in this third phase, which is being defined by him taking a lot more threes. Yeah. Previously, for the season, he's averaging 3.3 attempts per game. He's up over 4 a game for his last, his last 13 games. Mm-hmm. He's like well over 4. And it just feels like we're getting more of those games where he's taking 5, 6, 7. He took 6 tonight. And that's something that we have been begging for from multiple guys, but especially him, just because we knew coming into the draft that, okay, this is a guy that shot 40% from 3 in college at Santa Clara, we feel like he's going to be a good shooter long term. Can he get that volume up? I feel like we're inching towards that, where he should be a guy who takes that many threes per night. There's no reason why he can't take 6 threes per night. Like, it looks so natural too. Like, because he can do the pull up threes. You know, it's not like you have to get him open so that he can take, you know, some corner threes or whatever. Like, he'll have plays where he just dribbles up the court and shoots it. So I think we're entering this new era, which that's going to take him to like a whole nother level if he's taking 6 threes per night and shooting the way he has been shooting. So I'm really hopeful that continues. But yeah, he's becoming like, I mean, in terms of 3-level scorers in the league, for a guy who shoots so well from 3, so good around the rim, but also has that mid-range game, it's hard not to start like projecting out and thinking about what he could be.
I know. And the thing about it is, like, we're only like a little over halfway through year 2 for him. You know, like, he's gonna get stronger. He's gonna become smarter. I don't think it's unreasonable to think that he could be one of like the best 15 players in the NBA.
Yeah, which we were kind of already like banking on that for Chet. So now Chet's gonna have some competition, Andrew. If they're both going to be top 15,
Chet might have to be 16th.
He might have to be.
He's so good. Yeah, in the last 15 games for Dub, he's at 4.3 attempts from 3 at 47.1%.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I mean, that's insane. There's been some. I mean, the Thunder, like, and a lot of this is just the quality of shots that they get. Like, Wiggs is 54% the last 15 games. Isaiah Joe's 53. Shea's 50% the last 15 games, which is definitely an anomaly. And has been taking more. He's been taking 2.7, which doesn't seem like a lot, but that's a lot for Shea. Dub was 47. Lindy Waters, just the best player to ever put on a Thunder uniform. Lindy Waters III has been 47%. Cason Wallace 44%. Chet's 39% still. Like, pretty good. Dort's only at 33.8% over the last 15 games. So he's been kind of slumping a little bit. But what did you think of Dort and like his decision making? I kind of mentioned one of the plays earlier, but I feel like that's been part of his improvement. I think he had 4 assists tonight, and it's just been moving the ball better, and it's not been like as like frantic feeling when he gets the ball in his hands.
Yeah, I mean, tonight really is like the ideal Dort game, and I think we should say, like, one of the reasons it worked so well tonight is because the Magic, for whatever reason, decided not to put their center on Giddey. And as a result, like the offense, the entire game just flowed so much better.
Yeah.
Sure. And so like Giddey looked better and Dort looked better. I mean, that line from Dort, you know, took 5 shots, 4 of them were threes, which even 4 threes, that's fine. Hit 2 of them, 8, 4, and 4 with 2 steals, and really good defense. Like, I thought he had some really nice moments on Banchero, causing a couple turnovers. So that is like the ideal Dort game. So it's just like, what can we do to like create that environment more? Because I mean, I was talking about it with you this before, but you know, maybe the Magic were like, hey, we're the 4th ranked defense in the league. Like, we don't need to drastically change our defensive setup for a team like the Thunder. Like, yes, they have good players, but we have, Jalen Suggs, who we can throw onto Shea, who was doing really well in the first half. So maybe that was the play for them. It's also not like Wendell Carter Jr. is some amazing shot blocker, so it's not the same as like the benefit of having Rudy Gobert at the rim. It's a little different, but at the same time, like, I don't know if they would play that way if we played them like next week. Because I just don't see why you wouldn't try what other teams have been trying with success. But yeah, I appreciate it. We don't have to talk about it. We don't have to talk about like a bad game for Giddey or anything. It's just like everyone looks good. Giddey was cutting, had a couple really nice cuts.
Yeah, 10, 5, and 5, 10 points on 8 shots. He missed all his threes, but like was playing within the flow. Had like some.
Yeah, you don't notice as much when it's in the in the flow of the game. Like, yeah, he was 0 for 3, but like that did not like stick in my mind even during the game
Yeah, I thought
because
he.
it didn't feel like the ball was like what we've seen like in the game against Dallas, where
Mhm.
like they're trying to have all this movement in their offense, and then it just sticks to Giddy, and like
Yeah,
like that wasn't really happening that much tonight.
yeah, where they can't get anything else going, and it's just
Yeah,
like finding him, and it's like you know that the Mavs are like, thank you, as the ball's being delivered to him,
yeah, the same way I was saying thank you tonight.
Yeah.
Because I mean, the Minnesota did it in that the third game we played them, where they just put Mike Conley on Giddy,
Mhm.
and like, yeah, Mike Conley can guard Giddy, but it's not about that.
Mm.
Same thing like tonight. Well, Suggs was on him or no, Fultz was on him to start off, and then Cole Anthony, they would put him on him. Like, yeah, like Fultz can guard Giddy, sure, but like
Okay,
that's
great.
not what it's about. Like,
Cool.
and Giddy, did take advantage of the matchup against Cole Anthony, like
Mhm.
driving in on him and then shooting that floater over him.
Mhm.
So yeah, I wish teams would just keep doing this, Andrew. I feel like
Just like doing this thing. Jonathan Isaac hit J-Dub in the throat. It was in like second quarter, I think.
yeah,
Um, and then they put Gideon basically in place of him as he was like just trying to make sure he was okay. And it was like one of those moments where you're like, okay, like this is like an environment where he could thrive, or like Giddy could thrive in a lineup like that, because like Chet's out there with him. He's with mostly bench guys that can shoot. Like, and it worked because they were playing in transition. They were playing really fast, and the Thunder ended up going on like a little run. I was like, okay, those lineups just make a little bit more sense. Even with like Jang out there, Jang didn't make his shots tonight, but was more aggressive. I think he had 4 assists. Yeah, he had 4 assists tonight in his like 9 minutes. I like these little stints that Mark has been giving Jang because it just gives like a nice like opportunity for him to go out there and like showcase some of like his physicality and his passing. And if he's shooting well, great. If he's not, like he's got to show some other stuff. But it's just like this like small like stint that he gets. And he got a little bit more time at the end because they had some garbage time. But uh it's just nice to see those like little stints for Jang. I think those could be really helpful for him as he like continues to build. And it's also doesn't hurt the team if you're like, instead of like playing him like 16 minutes or something, playing
yeah,
him like, 7 minutes or 6 minutes, in the
yeah. I
second.
mean, he was part of some of those bench lineups that had success.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, it was just a really impressive game, and it's the kind of game that like gets you excited for Gordon Hayward coming in, just having like
Yeah.
that other option. Like, what if they played the Magic in a week or so, and they decided, okay, we are going to do Wendell Carter Jr. on Giddy, and
Mm-hmm.
now we're going to move like Paulo onto Chet,
Mm-hmm.
and then you can just sub in Hayward, and all of a sudden, like they can't do that. Like,
Yeah. Then it's, yeah.
again, I don't know if they're going to start Hayward or not. I'm kind of with you. I would be kind of shocked if they did that,
I'd be
but
more than kinda. I'd be very shocked. But it
would be very shocked.
wouldn't it be interesting though? Like, let's say if they got into a series with Minnesota somehow. Like maybe the Thunder and Minnesota are like 2-3 and they play each other in the second round. And they start with Giddy, and like the Minnesota does their defense, and then the Thunder sub in Hayward, and then like Minnesota, like you have to make them like really think like, okay, now we have to like switch back and match up. Like
Yeah,
it's like a mental exercise to like do
yeah,
like that switch up. And so like to me, I'd want to leave that in my back pocket. One, you just want to like give Giddy the benefit of the doubt and like give him a chance. And if he's not, like you have options. I mean, that's the thing that if Hayward's healthy and can play, he just gives you so many options, of what to do. You could throw him in there at the 4. Richie talking about his screening was like, oh man, that's awesome because not only can he screen, but he can pop, he can kind of roll and kind of like, pitch it off to guys on the short roll. There's a lot of different things that he can do with the basketball. And then if he's willing to be a screener, which I mean, that's the case with everybody on the Thunder. Everybody's a screener. If you're on the court, you're a screener. And so it's good to hear that like he was already doing that. in Charlotte. And so I just think he's going to add so much, and the fact that he's bigger than guys like taller than like Kenrich and Joe and Wiggins and Wallace, like those
Well,
are
that
be
yeah,
trust. Like, just having that height and like strength is going to be like really helpful.
because we were just talking about like within a single game, but yeah, in a series, I think having Hayward makes it easier for Mark to make a starting lineup change if he
Yeah,
feels that's necessary.
sure.
Because previously, especially against a team like Minnesota, like you could sub in Isaiah Joe, but now you are giving up a lot of size, subbing out Giddey for Joe. And maybe
Mhm.
it would work, but at least Hayward allows you to maintain some of that size where you don't feel like you're going to get killed necessarily in that same way.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I mean, I am with you in the sense that I'd be shocked if Giddey is not in the starting lineup the rest of the season and to start whatever playoff series. But I do think there's a chance that Hayward is good enough where it does eventually force their hand if teams continue to play against them that way. Obviously, it didn't happen tonight, and not every team, for whatever reason, is going to do that. And so you're going to have games like tonight where everything just clicks and it looks amazing. I mean, their offense looked incredible, and it was like everyone. I mean, Shaq was talking about it. It was obvious to see. Like they were just in such a rhythm, especially compared to Orlando, who might need shooting even more than like we talk about the starting lineup for the Thunder needing shooting with the way teams have played Gideon Dort, but
Yeah,
man, they need shooting so much more,
really badly.
so much more.
Where like Suggs is taking 12 because like they can collapse a defense. They can. They have guys that can do that, but then like teams are collapsing because they know that the only guys that are out there are like the guys that took the threes tonight. Vancaro missed all 3. Franz was 1 of 5. Wendell Carter 1 of 4. Suggs was 4 of 12. I still can't believe he took 12 threes. Oh my gosh. Jonathan Isaac, who played 15 minutes. Isaac is such a interesting player because he's giant, but he can still move so well, and it's good to see him like looking pretty good. He only played 15 minutes tonight, but he played, if I'm not mistaken, he played like the most minutes that he's played in like a couple years in the last game that he played.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I mean that's
Yeah,
it's positive to see him playing like that again. But he's such an interesting player. I don't know what he is on offense still, which is kind of a problem, but defensively, like he was awesome. But like back to the 3-point shooting, like they're getting it nowhere. And you also probably feel a little frustrated if you're a Magic fan to see like didn't really cost all that much to get Buddy Healed. It didn't cost that much to get some of these shooters.
Davis Bertans.
Hey, you might still be able to get him. You could probably convince his agent to request a buyout, and you still go get him.
Yeah, the thing with them, like when we talk about OKC having a shooting problem, often it's a conversation about the volume, which for the Magic, like their guys are taking them. Like Paulo takes 4.2 a game, shoots 36%. Franz takes 5.2 a game, shooting 32%. Suggs is having a nice year.
Huh?
What'd you say?
Franz's shooting is going on a little bit under the radar.
Good for him because it's been bad.
Yeah.
What do you think about Anthony Black shooting 38% from 3, Andrew? 1.3 attempts per game.
I mean, I think it's cool.
Mm-hmm.
Little fool's gold, but it's cool. He's not playing a whole lot since they've gotten like some of their guards back. Like he didn't really.
Yeah.
He didn't. I mean, he didn't play. I mean, he played, but he didn't play in this game. But like with Ingles and Gary Harris, I mean, they're like completely healthy in this game, right? Like I don't think anybody sat tonight.
That's correct. I don't see anything on the basketball reference page.
Yeah. You get like Fultz is back and Suggs is in the lineup and OKK, who really didn't play either. But yeah, I mean, there's some guys on here. Like they have useful players that really aren't playing that much, but just none of them can shoot. Except for like Jett Howard is supposed to be able to shoot, but
yeah,
they just like refuse to play that guy at all.
Yeah, that was a great win. Like they had won 5 of their last 6.
Mm-hmm.
You're playing them on the road.
Mm-hmm.
A big night.
National television.
National television. That's a really, really nice win.
Retirement night. Who was it? Somebody in the chat said this, and I wanted to give them credit because it's a really good thought. So they're basically saying that we need. Oh yeah, here it is. We need special events for Thunder Nights. We beat the Lakers when LeBron James got the scoring record, and now beat the Magic when Shaq's jersey was retired. People need to learn. No special events on Thunder game nights. Jason Williams.
That's a great point.
So true.
These teams should think ahead. Although this is the reason why we're getting on national TV, so we really need them. Like, would they have put that game on if it wasn't TNT's Shaq getting his jersey retired?
They should have. They should.
They would have put the Bucks in Miami on,
which would have been lame.
It would have been.
Now, the Bucks have been like not good, man.
I know they lost 123-97 tonight.
97 points. You have Giannis and Lillard, and you scored 97 points.
Dame scored 16.
There's no Jimmy,
14.
No Jimmy Butler.
No Jimmy Butler.
They started Tyler Hero and Duncan Robinson.
They started Jovic. He had 24 points.
Jovic. Yeah, Jovic is kind of good. He's kind of good.
Would you like Jovic on this team?
Actually, I kind of would.
He's 6'10", 205 pounds. I
kind of would. I wonder if they could just like trick the NBA into just letting the Thunder draft him. You know,
would you give them their first back?
No.
Okay, no. You don't like them that much.
I prefer to hold them hostage with their first round picks rather than.
We should talk about Chet because I thought first half. A little sleepy Chet, I would say.
Yeah.
Mo Wagner was I was starting to worry in the first half that Mo Wagner was going to be the new Kenneth Lofton Jr., just this random guy who plays Chet really well because he had like 3 attempts at the rim in a row where he kind of dominated Chet, and I was getting a little freaked out, and then he was getting some boards on Chet. But then second half, I feel like Chet started to play much better. And you look at for the game, Orlando shot 53.1% at the rim. You have to give some of that credit, Chet. I mean, he had a ton of blocks.
I'll give it to him. Yeah, he had 5 blocks tonight. 13, 9, 1, 1, and 5 in a game that we're all like, I don't know that he played that well. Like, that's still pretty great.
It is. And like offensively, his handle, I would say, stuck out tonight. They were doing a good job hounding him. He lost the ball a couple times. I think he only was credited with 1 turnover. So box score wise, it looks fine. But I did notice that. So it was not his greatest game, but like you said, 13-9 and holding the other team to 53% of the rim. That's great for right now.
Shot 50% from the field.
That's true.
But
only took 8 shots. Yeah.
You know, but he was really good in the third quarter. In the first half, when Mo Wagner is just like ramming into his chest, and it was just like, oh my gosh! And then they were doing the right things. You know, you can tell that they were coached to play the right way against Chet, and Chet will get stronger, and those moments won't be as glaring as we kind of move throughout his career. But like, that's a rookie big man. That's a very skinny rookie big man. And like, that's how you attack him. It's like, you just go straight into his chest. I thought it was hilarious how Mo Wagner would flex after anything that he did against Chet. It just made me laugh a lot. I was getting texts from other people that said they wanted to punch him in the face. I find his antics to be really funny, and mostly after I've heard like some of his interviews, because Mo Wagner is really funny, like a really funny guy.
I usually don't get mad at like younger players, especially like now that we're a good team, Andrew. Now that we are watching a good team night in, night out, like when a young team has like a really good, not that like I think we might be younger than Orlando, but like when a young team has a good night, doing a little flexing, does not bother me. Like Luka bothers me 100 times more. In fact, I always rejected the idea of a Mavs Thunder rivalry, even though it did theoretically make the most sense, but it never like quite lined up. We had that early Western Conference, series against them.
Mhm.
But it never felt like the teams were peaking at the same time. I'm
Mhm.
starting to feel a little juice with that rivalry, Andrew. What do you think about that?
Yeah, it's funny that there never was because they did play in the playoffs a few times. It's just, and there were like the 2011 series was a really close one in the Western Conference Finals,
Yeah,
and they played them again in the playoffs at least one more time. Um, isn't it? It is a little weird that there was like literally like no, like almost zero animosity there.
I never felt it. Like I felt more animosity with like Portland. I felt like
Portland,
those
Memphis,
games with Portland and Memphis especially. But like in terms of just like a random
or
team,
even
know that
San
they're
Antonio.
yeah, yeah. But
All that.
maybe something's brewing, Andrew. I think something's brewing.
Yeah, I mean, we could. I mean, it's not impossible that a first round series between Thunder and Mavs happens.
That would be super interesting. I think Mark would be put to the test very early because that was maybe the most aggressive we've seen a team play that defensive setup.
Yeah, I mean, it could happen now. So let's say in the play-in, the Mavs beat Sacramento in the play-in, then they would be the 7 seed. 2-7 would be Thunder Mavs.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's like it'd be very possible. And then you get, because I think what it takes is like there was not really like a Dirk KD thing, because like Dirk was a lot older and Kevin was just kind of coming into his own, and it wasn't like Dirk is or KD's so much better than Dirk. It was just like, no, like Dirk's awesome. Like everybody just kind of liked him, you know. But I think like the thing that could brew is like the Luka versus SGA thing, where I'll tell you this, Thunder fans are feisty on Twitter now. Like there's been like this like rebirth of Thunder fans. And I don't know if it's just, I don't exactly know what to credit it to.
Oh, I just think it's well, I've actually been thinking about this a lot lately because
Let's see. I want to hear your theory. I want to hear it.
well, it's simply that it's a new generation of fans who are younger and who are experiencing the team being good for the first time.
Yeah.
Because I know a lot of people think that Thunder Twitter can be like really negative, and it can, but to be perfectly honest, like I used to tweet like when I see some of these tweets, that's how I used to tweet. Like when I was in my early 20s, when the team was good for the first time, like
Mhm.
just super aggressive, going after anyone who said anything about OKC, any media member, did not care who it was, getting blocked by Ben DeBose. That was me once upon a time.
Wow. Yeah.
And so I think it's just a new generation of Thunder fan that is finally getting their first opportunity where it's justified for them to be this way.
Bronton
And
says we're peacocking.
that's exactly it. We're peacocking, and you finally have a reason to do it.
Yeah.
I mean, I think there are a lot of fans who found the Thunder towards the end of the KD Russ thing, and really like their fandom was growing during those post KD years.
Mm-hmm.
And then obviously you have the trades, the CP3 years. This is the best team we've had since 2016, pretty clearly.
Yeah, without a
And
doubt.
so I think this is just, we're seeing an emergence of a type of fan that we just haven't really needed or had for a very long time. But that used to be me, and so I don't dislike it. I'm not partaking anymore because I just feel like it's passed me by. I'm too old now to be getting in like Twitter fights and like quote retweeting random podcast clips that said one sentence incorrectly about a player on my team. That's totally something I would have done in the past.
Oh my gosh.
I respect it. I respect it. Somebody's got to do it. Somebody's got to be out there on the front lines, Andrew. When this MVP debate heats up, I have full faith that Thunder Twitter is going to be there.
Would you have been that mad about the Lindy Waters signing?
I mean, I was mad, but I just saved it for our group chat. I don't tweet about those things anymore.
Yeah, that's true. Our version of Twitter has kind of turned into just to our group chat.
I know it has. It's just so much safer because I can say literally anything, and I know
and I
no
just
one's
don't.
going to be in my replies.
I just
No
don't
one's
even
going to get
use
mad at
Twitter
me.
for that anymore. It is just the group chat now.
Yeah. Which is why I've just stopped tweeting because it's like, well, I'm not tweeting anything interesting or funny anymore. So maybe I should just stop tweeting.
I definitely do not tweet as much, but I've just noticed like the replies have got.
But doesn't it make you feel good though that like as we're
Way more
entering
aggressive.
our older age, they're putting us in the home, Twitter home. We're reaching that age.
Yeah.
There's a new generation. They're fresh. They're
Oh,
feisty. We're going to need them for the MVP debates that are going to go on in a couple months.
Yeah.
I mean, we remember what it was like in 2017. That was ugly. It felt like every day on Twitter, you were in the trenches. You were getting out there.
Mm-hmm.
You were fighting someone.
Mm-hmm.
For saying something about, triple doubles don't matter. Like we really put in a lot of time. And this new generation, they're going to have to do the same.
Yeah, I just feel like they're a little different than that, though. I like that you're trying to make it a little like more nostalgic or whatever, but to me, this feels different. There's just like a different feel to it for sure. Okay, so we're at the All-Star break. The Thunder have lots of guys going. We have an All-Star starter for the first time, long time All-Star starter. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and then we have 3 guys that will be in the Rising Stars Challenge. We have J-Dub and Chet both on Jalen Rose's team, and then we have Cason Wallace, who's on Pau Gasol's team. Who I just can't stop thinking about the fact that Pau Gasol called Jaime Jaquez Jamie Jaquez. Like I just can't stop thinking about it. Like I cannot get it out of my brain ever since he said it. Like I've been walking around my house saying it like he said it, where it's like Jamie Jaquez. I just can't stop thinking about it.
That's really rough because I don't know if he lives in LA, but it seems like he's in LA a lot. He must be vaguely familiar with like college basketball, and he was there for 4 years.
I was gonna say like he was like a UCLA legend, who's
and
like good. Yeah,
I get if you don't know that that's pronounced Jaime the first time, okay, fine. But like Jaquez, like Jaquez, that's really going to be your first guess. I feel like that one's a little more straightforward.
And if he's like the 3rd best rookie in the NBA,
they should also have
a big
market. They should have a pronunciation guide on their sheets. Clearly,
also there's not that many guys up for it. Like you could just like learn just a small bit about each player before. It wouldn't be that hard.
Or just not pick him. That means that he was confident.
Yeah, and it's not like his name is like John Smith. His name is Pau Gasol. I mean, come on.
That's true.
He should know that people probably mispronounce his name a ton his first couple years of the league.
Wow.
Come on.
Yeah, I'm excited about.
And he's from Spain. That's a great point.
Yeah, that is probably the best point.
He called him Jamie Jaquez.
How is that even possible now?
As if he were just like me from Oklahoma City trying to say it after never seeing it. Oh my gosh, it's so good. I'm actually glad it happened. Because now I'm just like I'm obsessed with it. I need to like clip it, and that needs to go like on like the fry pod or something because it's just so good. I'm interested to see how those games go though on Friday. It should be pretty fun.
Yeah, it's nice to have a ton of guys involved.
Yeah,
I'm also very into the skills competition with the 3 former number 1 picks.
Yeah, that should be fun.
That's really cool.
3-point shootout will be fun. I'm gonna turn off the dunk contest. Like,
you're gonna turn it off, Andrew. You don't want to see what Mac McClung's got cooked up for this year?
Dude, I am not okay with G Leaguers winning the dunk contest. I'm sorry.
What about participating?
Participating, I'm out on it. Way out. The NBA players have become so lame. And that like it's good. I'm really glad Jaylen Brown's doing it. I hope Jaylen Brown wins. I hope it's like really helps boost Jaylen Brown and he gets like endorsement deals and like it's very good for him. Because
it's going to be
NBA players need to be in the dunk contest. We have Jacob Toppin in the
Yeah,
dunk contest. It's
okay.
we have-
That I actually kind of like. I wouldn't mind if they did all obscure brothers of NBA players. Like if we
we're
had
gonna do,
Taylor
like, great
Griffin.
value brand brothers in the
That'd be
dunk
really
contest.
cool. I would enjoy that.
I mean, come on, man. Like, this is so bad. This is an embarrassment. Like, it's an absolute embarrassment. And
Well,
it's like,
maybe you should pressure the Thunder players next year at Media Day.
who would it be? Who would you want to pressure to be in it? That's the
Oos. I feel like Oos would do the Gerald Wallace dunks.
I would love somebody to write a like down to dunk like script of me pressuring Oos, and then like what his responses would be to me pressuring him to do the dunk contest.
He would definitely do those Gerald Wallace dunks when Gerald Wallace just did the dunks that like we do on like an 8-foot goal,
like in the pool, like on a pool back.
Yeah, just like very straightforward, your classic dunks. I don't know. I feel like J-Dub is athletic enough,
Yeah,
explosive enough.
Could he do like really cool dunks though?
Dude, Jaime Jaquez.
Dude, I know.
So like, yeah,
Jamie,
I think he could.
Wes.
Bismack. Yeah, we don't have a lot of good options.
Bismack, Biombo, Gordon Hayward.
He's just doing regular lobs.
Oh my gosh, it's gonna. I mean, I know McClung can do like crazy stuff, and it's really cool. But he's not in the NBA. This is the NBA All-Star Weekend. And like I know that like the G League is part of the NBA. Okay.
It seems like you're just sleeping on the Delaware Bluecoats.
I'm sleep.
Okay, Andrew, will the Thunder, Phil Jackson said, championship teams have to get to 40 wins before they get to 20 losses. So they are 37-17. So they need to go 3-3. Actually, they need to go 3-3, but they need to win the 40th game.
I was going to say it.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
3-2 over the next 5. So their next 5, Clippers out of the break at home. Great game. Very exciting.
God, I cannot wait.
I wonder if Kawhi will be out. Kawhi was out in their next game. Is that tonight?
Yeah, he's Kawhiing. He's at home Kawhiing.
Nope. That is tomorrow. So he's going to be out of that game.
Yeah.
Then they get the Wizards. Should be a win.
Then
they get 2 games against none other than the Houston Rockets.
Yeah.
Who have been interesting lately.
Sunday on the road, February 25th. And then Tuesday night, the weirdest game ever. It's on TNT.
10 p.m.
It's at 9 p.m. Central Standard Time.
Start
at 9 p.m. here, which means like I'm gonna be at the arena forever
on a Tuesday.
On a Tuesday, it's gonna be so late. Like we record Thunder After Dark at the arenas after the games for the Dream Team, and we're gonna be recording at like 1 a.m. or whatever. It's gonna be so strange.
Can Mayor Holt do city holidays? Does he have that power?
I don't know. I need to ask him
because he could at least give us a half day on Wednesday.
Yeah, come on, man. Please.
And then they play at the Spurs. I would say that schedule is very conducive to 3-2.
Yeah, they could definitely reach that, and then Shaq will be validated and hit what he said.
Yeah. But I wish he hadn't said it.
Isn't it wild that we're even talking about that being a possibility?
Yeah. I mean,
they would be a 50-win team if they went like 500 the rest of the way.
I know. Yeah. That part is wild. I think it's even worse than that at this point. I don't want to do the math in my head, but I think they could be. I mean, they're only 13 games away from it.
That is insane, isn't it?
It is. I still am like very wishy-washy on their playoff prospects, just because the team does feel very matchup dependent in some ways, and it's unclear to me still like who I fear the most of the likely first round matchups. I feel like I've thought about the top 4 teams a lot at this point, with Denver, Clippers, and Minnesota. I still don't feel confident in my opinions on their other matchups. I would like to see a few more games against some of those teams.
Yeah.
Like I'd like to see them against a healthy Phoenix, see what it looks like. I guess the one team, and of course this is stupid because they beat us 8 times in a row, but like the Kings are a team that I feel relatively confident about in a first round series. Maybe that's stupid.
Fox was so bad in that last game, though.
He's been bad, though. He's been rough as of late.
He's had a rough, like, 20 games, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, of the teams, they're the obvious one where you're like, okay, I would feel okay in the King series.
Yeah, Sabonis, even though he had, like, a crazy triple-double, I felt like they handled him okay.
Yeah. But these other teams, like even a team like New Orleans, I just don't have a good feel for yet. I know they had a really nice win against them recently. Phoenix, Dallas, Lakers, Warriors.
The West is so good. That's the thing about it.
Yeah.
Is that I guess Denver would be the only team where if they went out in round 1, it would be like, whoa, like what just happened to the West? And maybe the Clippers would be the only other team where you'd be like, whoa. But also, like the Clippers would go out in round 1 because they're hurt. Like that could happen. Like, would you be surprised by that? I don't think you could be surprised by that. I think really the only surprise would be if Denver went out in round 1. But if like OKC, Minnesota, Pelicans, Suns, Kings, Mavs, Lakers, Warriors, is everybody who's in the top 10 right now?
Yeah.
Any of those teams went out in round 1, like you could not be surprised by any of that. Denver, like right now, Denver's in a 4-5 with the Pelicans. Like if they lost to the Pelicans, I would be floored. I just don't think that will happen. But if Minnesota went out to the Lakers in round 1, would that be a shock to anybody? It wouldn't necessarily surprise me if that happened. If OKC, like we said, went out to Dallas in round 1, would that be insane? Like it wouldn't be insane. It wouldn't be crazy. Even if the Clippers are healthy and they play Phoenix, which is what it would be right now, would it be wild to think that Phoenix could beat the Clippers in round 1?
No.
Yeah. That's the thing is the West is just completely stacked. And that's why, like, I'm with you. Like, I do feel like there's no sure thing of getting out of the first round for anybody really outside of Denver. Like, I would still give Denver, a leg up over really anybody in the West. But outside of them, I think any of those teams could lose to each other in the first round. And, like, look at the play-in. Kings, Mavs, Lakers, Warriors.
Yeah, the Warriors have won 5 in a row. I'm really interested to see how high they can climb. If they could get into that 7-8 matchup.
They have the best point differential of all the Warriors do of all the play-in teams right now.
Yeah.
Like Mavericks, Kings, best point differential of all those teams.
Man, and like Houston's like out of it. Like they just won that game against the Knicks. They're already 3 games back of the Warriors for the 10 spot and would have to jump the Jazz.
Yeah, and they're still like game and a half back behind the Jazz. Yeah, I think it's something crazy could happen, but it does feel like that's done.
Yeah, that's feeling like right now it's the top 10 pick, Kyle Filipowski on tankathon.com.
Yes, please. I don't know if you listened to Game Theory, but I was texting with Sam Vecini earlier today, just telling him that as he was like talking, because he was they did a mock draft on their show, and I was just sitting there rooting for Kyle Filipowski as he was about to start talking, and then he picked him. I was very happy.
For OKC? That's great. Congratulations.
I won in this very sad game I was playing in my own head.
Where's Ryan Dunn going at this point? Now that he's not shooting,
he was in their top 10.
Was he really? God, that's so scary, man.
I don't think there's any way he'd be selected by the Oklahoma City Thunder.
No, I don't either. I just that type of player, because we have had guys who can't shoot be drafted.
Yeah,
like the Thompson twins. I guess Asar Thompson would be the closest, but like Asar at least
handle and pass and do.
Yeah,
like,
yeah, that's what I was
he-
gonna say. Like he's not a point guard, but he does have other abilities.
yeah,
Whereas it
like
really does feel like Ryan Dunn offensively is just so. Actually, I don't know. I was about to. Just, I mean, what is even the idea of him offensively?
he's like a rim running wing.
Okay.
He's like a very short. He's like a 6'8" center on
Uh-huh.
offense.
And
It's
he's
basically
21.
like he has to be in the dunker spot, essentially.
Man.
Yeah, I just don't see it. Like I just don't really. I have a hard time envisioning it, especially in this NBA. It's just really tough for him. Really, really good defender, but offensively, there's just like nothing. There's really just nothing there. For I just don't understand. Like he's averaging like 9 points and 7 rebounds. Like the stocks are there. That's cool. But man, it's just hard to make it in the league like this. But
I mean, like,
Filipowski is interesting though for the Thunder because he's like he can pass and he is a pretty good shot blocker himself too. Can pass, pretty good rebounder too. He's got really good
yeah.
size. Like he'd instantly be the biggest guy on the Thunder at 7 foot, like almost 250. He would be very, very interesting.
Hmm.
I'd be very, very into the idea of him being
Okay,
on.
let's see. How far could Houston fall? How good could this pick be? So right now they are a game and a half up. No, they're actually only a half game up on Atlanta.
Mm-hmm.
So they could fall past Atlanta.
Yeah, Atlanta wants to be really good right now. Even though
Beyond that, I don't know. The next one is Brooklyn. Brooklyn's already 3 games back of Houston.
wow. It's kind of funny that like we have their pick, but they almost feel okay that they don't have it because they have this Nets pick that's going to be a little bit better.
That and I just think the way that Amen and Cam have played, it's like there's
Yeah.
so many high level young guys that they're excited about. I mean,
Yeah, Cam is interesting. He's exactly what we thought he would be in that he has like 2 assists and like 500 shots.
he should have gone so much higher though.
Yeah.
That was
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, we will see.
We'll see.
Yeah.
He's good, but I'd love to see him in like a true like winning context,
Hey Andrew, I went to a Blazers game.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Blazers and Pelicans. And there was a player starting for the Blazers that someone who feels like I'm pretty up to date on the NBA, had
Mhm.
never heard of in my life. Do you know who this player is? Do you know who Ashton Haggins is?
No.
Have you ever heard that name in your life?
Where did he come from?
It was a real like Samaj Christian moment for me. Because Ashton Haggins, Hagans, which is so funny because like the Blazers' whole thing going into this year was like, oh, we have all these guards. What are we going to do with all these guards? How can we get the minutes all together? They were all hurt. Ant was out, Scoot was out, Shaden's out, and Malcolm Brogdon was out.
Wow.
So they had to bring up this guy, Ashton Haggins, who I'd never heard of in my life. He's 6'3", 190. He actually played at Kentucky. He's 24 years old. And he wasn't good. But it's another player that I know. They have a lot of players that I don't really know. Justin Minaya, you ever heard of that name?
Mm-mm.
He's been playing. Taze Moore. Have you heard of these guys?
Bazemore. Just Ashton Haggins has 37,000 followers on Twitter.
Does he really?
He's got some followers.
It was a really boring game. They scored 84 points. But the seats were great. Shout out to Blake.
Shout out Blake. Yeah, what a weird team the Blazers are.
I know. I've been listening to some of their pods, and it's so funny now listening to pods of tanking teams
Yeah.
because they all use OKC as the example.
Oh, really?
Yeah, which makes sense because it's like fans in their minds see OKC as having these 2 down years and then they're back in contention, you know? It's like, why can't we do that? But like I thought Danny Meringue actually made a good point, which was like their rebuild really started when they traded Russ and PG. It's just that weird CP3 year kind of like threw everyone off.
Yeah.
Like in terms of them rebuilding, that first year was part of it. Now they ended up making the playoffs and being the 5th seed or whatever. But and we don't really factor that in because it didn't feel like it in the moment. But like once you trade Russ and PG, you are resetting your franchise in a major way.
Yeah.
And so even though it wasn't a tank year per se, it's been a lot longer than it really seems
Mm-hmm.
for them to get back to this point.
Mm-hmm.
It's just so hard because like now that we've been through it, really the only lesson I've learned is like you have to have a top 20 guy for any of this to matter. And until you find that player or find a player who you at least believe can be that player,
Mm-hmm.
there's really no reason for you to have hope, like real hope. Like that is the first step. You at least have to have a player on your team who you can tell yourself there's a
Yeah.
chance one day that he can be a top 20 player in the league. Because
Yeah.
until you have that, it doesn't really matter. It doesn't.
It's so true. Because like look at like the bad teams, and like who's the next team that has a chance that's like out. Let's just like out of it. Like maybe Toronto with Scotty.
Well, the Spurs with Wemby is obvious. Like
The
they're
Spurs-
set. Like,
yeah, they're gonna be even though they've only won 11 games, like it's pretty obvious that they have a player that could be in the top 20 quite soon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Charlotte, I mean, I like Brandon Miller, and LaMelo has already been an all-star.
LaMelo can be that.
It doesn't feel like that way right now, but most of that is injury related.
Mm-hmm.
The Wizards do not have that player.
Wizards do not. Pistons.
Detroit's a really interesting one because I think a lot of fans would default to Cade. But that doesn't feel as certain as it did 2 years ago.
Even this summer, do you remember all the stories coming out of Team USA about Cade Cunningham? Oh my gosh, you should see Cade Cunningham here at camp. He's the best player here. They were begging him to come to Team USA. Oh my gosh. And I'm not saying that like he still can't be that guy, but he has not been that guy this season.
And then in the West, like the Grizzlies are just a weird year. The Blazers, the Blazers, I don't think they have that player yet. Like,
no,
I think at the draft you would have said, okay, Scoot is going to be that player.
Yeah.
Even though he has been better as of late, I don't think you're confident about it.
There's no sign that he is a top 20 guy.
Yeah. And as much as I love Anthony Simons, and I think he is a really good player, he's not the type of player that you project to be like a top 20 player.
Yeah.
And so you're kind of just waiting to see it from Scoot or Shaden. And until you do, like it does feel like it's going to be a while. Like this team's going to be bad for a while.
Yeah.
Which means that it'll probably be easy to get tickets for a while, which is great for me.
To get tickets. Markkanen.
Oh, with Utah? Yeah. I mean, Markkanen is
would you say Markkanen or Şengün is higher?
I mean, Şengün is a lot younger.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I like the Houston situation because I would pair that with Amen Thompson because I'm like very high on Amen Thompson. I think he is very exciting, and I would be very excited if I was a Houston fan.
Yeah.
So you give me that pair, and I would probably take them over Markkanen. Markkanen versus Şengün. I mean, it just feels like Markkanen is. I mean, he's older, so he feels more ready right now. It'd almost be like getting like a Shea, level of mature player.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, straight up, I'd probably go Markkanen, but Şengün has had a very good year.
I still worry about both the Thompson twins shooting. I just don't know how it works.
Yeah,
just as like, how do they score consistently? You know, it's something that
Yeah,
they're.
I worry more about Asar in that way, just because he's playing off of the ball.
Yeah,
I just feel like with Amen's athleticism, like he's just going to be able to get by guys and get to the rim.
yeah, he's
He's just
crazy
going to cause
athletic.
so much havoc.
He just can't. He just hadn't like strung together like scoring at all this whole season.
No, he hasn't. Yeah, him and Asar, it's like when they have a good run of games, it's like you look at their rebound numbers and it's like 10,
Yeah,
18,
I mean the
12 every
rebounding
single
for
night.
both of them is insane.
Yeah.
From their position is crazy, and that's great. But I just to be like one of the top players in the NBA today, like it requires just a level of consistent scoring. And like we're seeing it with Shea, like Shea just gets 30. He had 6 in the first half tonight, and he just gets 30. He just finds a way.
And maybe that's a reason to not. I should have just taken Markkanen no matter what, because you pair Şengün with Amen Thompson. It's like, okay, well, there's 2 of our 5 guys who probably aren't going to be able to shoot.
Yeah.
That's a really tough place to start from.
It's two like good players like in a vacuum. Like, oh yeah, like give me Amen XLNC Thompson all the time, please. He's amazing. He's athletic. He's big. He can be your point guard. But it's like, man, those 2 is not like the easiest pairing. Then you have to have like, and having Jabari is like really nice because he can shoot, and it's about filling out the rest of the roster. With guys that can really fill it up around those 2, and it just it's worked in spots for sure, and it worked early on a lot. And that's what Alman wasn't even playing in the first half of the season, but I think they really are gonna have to try to figure some stuff out with like their roster as a whole. Just because I don't know, like they really tried to rush the process a little bit, signing Brooks and Van Vliet, and it's worked to a degree, but it's not going to accomplish the goal that they wanted it to this year. So I'm just curious to see how they continue to shape it, because like they do have a ton of talent. They have a ton of young talent that needs to be
I'd be
developed.
shocked if they didn't make a big move this summer.
They're sure going to try.
Yeah.
And just like the trade deadline, though, it's about like truly what's available.
If that rumor is true that they offered all of Brooklyn's picks back, that like floors me that Brooklyn wouldn't accept that.
Me too. But they've already, like, Josiah has already come out and saying that he'd rather have a mediocre team than a tanking team.
They're not mediocre. That's the problem.
Yeah, it's true. They're bad.
They're bad. They're just bad.
Yeah. They should lean in and get their picks back.
Josiah's not going to allow them to do it. Not going to do it.
That's so dumb. Lean in, get your picks back. Like, why not? Like, they could have leaned all the way in and gotten their pick back for this season.
Yeah, probably could have gotten something for DFS.
Yeah, and then like this draft
keep
is
flexing. Who cares?
Not a great one to be involved with at the top, but like maybe you pick the right guy. Maybe you get Alex Sarr and he's awesome, or Cody Williams and he's great, or Jacoby Walter and he turns into a star. Like one of those guys is going to be great. I don't know which one, but one of them will be. So like just go, just stop doing what you're doing. Yeah. All right.
You ready to go?
Great win by the Thunder.
Oh, last thing, Andrew.
Yeah.
Mike Muscala. 7:28 in the second quarter. Pistons are down by 11. Muscala's played 3 minutes. He's taken 1 shot, missed it. He's a +6. Let's go.
Wow. Plus minus.
Let's go, Moose.
Poor Moose. Just playing for all these terrible teams.
And just being a plus-minus king wherever he goes.
Just being a plus-minus king. Just being the best guy. Yeah. Hey, Fontecchio in 10 minutes. 0 of 1.
Yeah, Moose in 151 minutes is already number 1 on cleaning the glass in Pistons on-off with +8.9. That's so funny.
I'm still just amazed that I'm sure that Utah the front office is still just giggling that they got an asset for Fontecchio.
Why are you? Okay, I was like whatever on Fontecchio, but then I feel like have turned on him.
I think he's a good player in the right context, and that's
How is
what
that context not Detroit?
and that's why I think Detroit has messed up. The dude's 28 years old.
Yeah,
and
but
it's a team that has no context.
But he was a guy. He was replacing someone who's like 35 or whatever Bojan was.
Yeah, cool, whatever.
It's just a new Bojan.
But the thing about Bojan though is like he can score with the ball in his hands and can like go get you a bucket, and like that's what Detroit need. Like honestly, like Detroit just needs somebody that can score.
I disagree. I think Bogdanović is overrated. I don't think he's going to help the Knicks that much. And I think everyone overreacted to that trade. I think you have to put the ball in Jaden Ivey's hands, Cade Cunningham's hands.
Sure.
Get guys around them who will just hang out and shoot. For that reason, I don't think what Troy Weaver did last week was as terrible as everyone thought it was.
I do. I think it was dumb of them to let Troy Weaver make those decisions.
Well, yeah, but that ship has sailed, Andrew. He's going to be there. He got a lifetime appointment.
Isn't that crazy? Like it's actually like insane.
Yeah, I mean, I know there's a lot of Thunder fans like fired up about the Giddey thing right now. But that's like nothing compared to having a GM that has taken your team to this depth and knowing that they're still going to be here.
I know
that they're not leaving.
Yeah,
they're going to be here forever.
It's wild. Well, to me, it's just like, do we know for certain that Fontecchio is like some great shooter? He was 33% last year.
Oh, what was he this year?
38.
There you go.
There you go. There you go.
What more do you need to say?
I just think it's, I mean, sure. Like the idea of a player like that's 6'8" that can shoot, great, cool. And he like did it. But I just think similar to the Thunder, I just think that the offense in Utah makes players just look so much better. Just like really accentuates what they're good at. And
that
has not been good at that. That's all.
That is true. But in order to have an offense like that, you have to start getting some of these players who can actually do things on both sides of the court. This has been Detroit's problem. They have all these guys who can only play on one side of the court. So they finally got, or zero sides of the court in the case of like Isaiah Livers. But like Killian Hayes only played defense. Bojan only played offense. They finally got guys with like Fontecchio and Quentin Grimes who you can believe that they're going to offer you things on both ends of the court and aren't going to take away from your two stars.
I think it's the opposite. I think it's you have to establish the style of play. And then I think if Aaron Wiggins was in Detroit, that he would just look like Kevin Knox.
He'd be an all-star? What was that?
No. I think it's the opposite. I think that like the style of play has made guys in Utah look really, really good. The style of play in Oklahoma City has made guys look really, really good.
Yes, but you can't even
that style of play is not.
You can't even play that style of play until you get the guys.
Yes, you can. The Thunder did that. Yes, you can.
But they were terrible. They were terrible at it.
But you could see players starting to blossom within it. And then once
you also had like when you had Darius Baisley on the team.
Yeah,
it was never going to work.
And you could see it wouldn't work for some guys, and like some guys just weren't going to work in the league. But I'm saying that like Detroit doesn't even have the style of play thing. They're not being coached well. That's my thing. It's like
I think the roster construction was so poor coming into the season that it was impossible to have a style of play.
I disagree.
The only style of play they could was hoping the other team was not going to score 85 points by just throwing all their defenders out there. Now I think they can establish some type of style of play because they have guys who can actually play on both sides of the court. That's all, Andrew. Troy Brown Jr., just a normal NBA rotation player, which they have not had the rest of this season.
I mean,
they're going to win 18 games, as I said, only 10 games away. They're currently down by 18 points.
getting hammered by the Lakers right now.
What a classic team for the Lakers to beat up on. They're cowards. This is what they do.
It is what they do. It definitely is what they do. I don't know.
Although they did just beat New Orleans by 17 points.
Yeah, they did.
In Boston and New York. Okay, never mind. Lakers are on a nice little run.
Yeah, they've played well lately. I think that yeah. I don't know. I believe that like having like a really good coach in place that has a style of play is really important. That's all.
And you don't think Monty Williams has a style of play?
I don't think Monty's the guy.
Well, that's the problem, Andrew, because he's making a lot of money. They signed him up.
I know.
For a while.
Yeah, it is a huge problem. It is a huge problem, and I think like Detroit's not gonna. They're gonna be in this hole for a long time.
I believe that. Yeah, that's true.
It's a very sad state of affairs. That Fontecchio again. Fontecchio is not going to fix it, and that's why I think that the people in Utah can sit back and laugh.
Are you worried about the Sam Presti GM tree, Andrew?
I just don't really care. I just
Rich Show out of the league. Well, at least not a GM.
Out.
Troy Weaver, and now we got to see with Michael Winger and Dawkins how they do.
Yeah, it's not good.
Do you think I was thinking about this the other day. I don't know why I'm saying do you think. I think the Jordan Poole trade is like low-key one of the worst trades in recent memory.
It's really bad.
For a team like that, who could actually use their space to absorb contracts, get back picks, now committing that amount of money to a guy who does not look like he can play basketball right now. I had to kick him off my fantasy team after I picked him off the scrap heap because he's been so bad. He was 1 for 12.
Or you just rather have Chris Paul and the contract that he had.
They'd probably be making the playoffs. They'd probably be having their little.
They'd be having their whole time. I know. Yeah.
Everyone dressing up in suits.
You just
get to see Bilal Coulibaly in a suit. Maybe they would have traded for Steven Adams.
Maybe so. Yeah, they had Mike, you know.
Yeah, I just that trade, man, that's looking bad.
It's looking
and really just like bad. What a killer at the beginning of your rebuild. You were already behind the 8 ball because like you're not going to get anything for Brad Beal. You barely got anything for Porzingis, and now like you're kind of betting on Kuzma. Who did you see that Kuzma quote about Dallas? That they had a deal essentially ready to go.
That's our guy Josh Robbins. That got that scoop.
That's insane. What a crazy quote.
It's a crazy thing that makes me worry about them. One, that they would let that quote get out. And then 2, that was how they made their decision.
But also that Kuzma doesn't think that he's good enough that he would help push Dallas over the edge to being contender. They already have Luka and Kyrie. You don't think you're good enough to help that team make its final push? Like, what else do they need? I mean, I kind of agree with them. I don't totally buy Dallas.
I honestly think it was like it's strange to me. It made me like Kuzma a whole lot more.
Yeah, like I sort of agreed with him, but at the same time, it's like, wait, why do you think this? Why do you not think better of yourself? You should be able to go in there and be their 3rd star. Come on.
I loved it. I loved everything about it. Shout out to Josh Robbins. Yeah, Jordan Poole next year, $29.6 million. The year after, in 25-26, $31.8, and then in 26-27, no player option, no team option, $34.04462 million. I wonder if he actually gets like the $2. $34,044,642. How about that?
He's almost rookie year Jordan Poole, which was like a historically bad player, like in terms of his efficiency.
Like the worst
He's
player.
Shooting under 40% from the field, under 30% from 3. His free throw attempts are down. This is like really bad. I don't know what they do.
There's nothing you can do. You just pray that he has a good summer.
Pray and hope.
It's not going to happen. All right, we should end this podcast because I feel like we're just like now we're just chatting.
Yeah, now we've just been hanging out for the last 30 minutes.
Shout out to Austin Balls. He says, "Thanks for the content, guys." With lightning bolts. Thank you for that super chat. Very nice. You excited for Bismack Biyombo?
I feel like he is the worst big man that you could bring onto this team that would still shut everyone up about needing a big man. So for that reason, I'm into it. No, I mean, listen. I mean, you compare him to someone like Robin Lopez, who has been on an NBA team this year and has gotten some minutes as of late.
As a player, I'd rather have Bismack. Yeah,
I would too. And Bismack Biyombo played minutes in the playoffs as recently as last year and had some good moments. And you're only asking for 5 to 10 minutes, hopefully, max, in a couple games.
Not even every game. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I was excited just that they didn't totally ignore size because, again, if there's an injury to Kenrich, I do think that is going to be significant.
Yeah.
Not that Bismack solves that in any way, but at least for a short time, I could be like, well, at least we still have Biyombo. At least it's not just Jay Will that's going to have to like shoulder the rest of this load.
Yeah. Yeah. To me, it kind of came down to like the fact that they could get him without having to give up any assets whatsoever. Like, great.
Yeah.
I mean, that's great. All right. Thanks so much for listening. Hey, we got a lot of people here in the chat on a Tuesday night. If you could please just hit the like button. That's all I need you to do. If you're listening right now, watching on YouTube, just hit the like button. That would be just incredibly helpful to us. And thank you so much for listening. If you're listening on just the podcast, be sure you go check out our YouTube page. Some fun stuff will be coming at you from our YouTube page very soon. So please make sure that you are there and subscribed. Hope you guys have an awesome, awesome day. And we will talk to you guys again on Friday.